And there's been yet another legal setback for suspended ANC Secretary General Ace Magashule. He petitioned the Supreme Court of Appeal to have his suspension set aside. This after he failed to persuade the High Court to grant him leave to appeal last year. Let's get the thoughts then of political analyst, that is Professor Sethulego Matebesi, joining us. Now, Prof, good morning to you. And is there anything left up the sleeves of Ace Magashule now, in your opinion?
Good morning, Gareth, and good morning to the South African viewers. One thing that we should understand, someone of the caliber of Ace Magashule might be out of the day-to-day running and management of the affairs of the African National Congress, but he remains such a formidable leader that behind the scenes can still play a role. I don't think he himself necessarily will be able to ascend unless it's something, and that's not something, but something legally will happen later during the course of the year. That will perhaps open the door for him to perhaps also contest, if I don't know, but I know there are definitely aspirations perhaps from his side or from his supporters that he should contest the elections in December, unless something happens. But I don't see himself playing that role, but definitely he remains a very important member of the African National Congress, albeit behind the scenes.
And let's talk about the behind the scenes, Prof, as well, because behind the scenes right now, but it's an ANC elective conference year as well. How do you, A, see the ANC handling Ace Magashule for the rest of the year, knowing how much support he has? And do you foresee any outward support for Ace Magashule the closer we get to elective conference? Do you see things turning around for Ace Magashule, is what I'm asking?
No, I don't think we should remember, once you become an RET member or you're sympathetic to a certain leader, and that has been the bone of contention with the elephant in the room for the African National Congress, where members have aligned themselves to certain leaders and they are not advancing the ideals in the interest of members of the organization. And that is the problem. And I don't see that members of the African National Congress who have been sympathetic to Ace Magashule will now suddenly just turn their back on him. He may have support, but the question is, if he's not going to contest that, what significance will that have? So definitely they will throw their support behind anybody who's definitely not part of the so-called Cyril Ramaphosa camp. And that's why I say he will definitely play, once it becomes known that he have lost the battle, for at least for now. I strongly believe that Ace will, and those who are actually advising him, will devise other means to ensure that they will support another candidate.
Let's talk about ANC dynamics for a moment. Obviously, leading the party at the moment, ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa. The big question, as I mentioned, with the elective conference is going to be the 2IC that comes in. So when we start moving the chess pieces around, Prof, on the ANC chessboard, who do you imagine could come in as the 2IC or a member of the top six that could try and reverse the fortunes of Ace Magashule?
Well, it's going to be very difficult. We've already seen that, and this has been punted by the public, and we haven't heard personally from the Minister of Tourism, Lindiwe Sisulu, whether she's going to contest. But there has been, attempts in the past. Perhaps she is definitely someone who would want, once again, perhaps to try that. But for me, anyone who comes forth, and it's going to be very difficult, Dr. Nkosazana Zuma, we can also not iron out. And although I don't know whether personally, look, she is quite a formidable person with an experienced politician. And the question is, will she want to expose again, like what happened during the past elective conference of the African National Congress. I strongly believe she will be very cautious and not trying to, expose herself a second time. But for me, currently, it simply means that Lindiwe Sisulu, for now, seems to be the most likely person that will perhaps ascend to the top seats of the African National Congress.
Let me leave this as my last question to you, Prof, briefly, if at all possible, as well. Do you see a future in the ANC for Ace Magashule? Is he delaying the inevitable?
A very difficult question. Look, the future of Ace Magashule primarily depends his political future within the African National Congress on this particular court case. But remember, even if he loses the court case, and we all know how these court cases can drag out and all that, so I don't foresee a situation where Ace Magashule will be completely lost to the African National Congress or to South African politics just on the basis of this particular case. I'm not a legal guru, but definitely there might be negative consequences for him. But it will be very difficult in future for him to come back and ascend to a very powerful position within the African National Congress. But we have seen stranger things happening elsewhere in the world in politics, and in South Africa we've even seen worse things happening, and we should never say never when it comes to the African National Congress.
Yeah, never ever say never, not just ANC politics, but politics in South Africa. Prof, it's always good to have you on eNCA. I appreciate your time. Professor Sethulego Matebesi, political analyst, joining us here on the South African Morning.